Hey, it's Dan Bamper again. I'm your Chief Financial Ninja at Black Belt Ledgers, and I help contractors just like you grow their revenue, increase their profits, and maximize their cash flow. And in today's 5-minute win, my goal is to ensure you have financial stability within your projects. Because we all know that cash is really how any small business survives. When you don't have that consistent cash flow coming in, um, you can really feel like you're scrambling to pay your bills, your team, any vendors. And instead of having that scramble, let's see if we can take this to a cash flow mastery perspective. So when you have great cash flow, it's this creates without this, it creates like a feast or famine cycle, right? Because people aren't paying you when you told them to pay you. You've got other expected costs coming around. And you can have all the great plans in place, but if you don't have the cash to execute it, it feels like everything just goes right out the window. So I want you to think about this from slightly different than making money. Cash flow is about managing your money. It's about making sure money moves through your business at the right pace to make sure everything runs smoothly. Because you can bill for a $10,000 job, but if you have to pay $6,000 in expenses before you've gotten your $10,000 payment, that's $6,000 you've got to come up with before any cash has actually hit your bank, right? So let's talk about some action steps where we can get rid of that. And honestly, the first one, invoice quickly and clearly. Make sure you have a great pricing and estimation system in place so you can send invoices immediately after the work is completed and that you give in clear payment terms. So if you're a residential company, I recommend getting payment before you leave the site. Okay? So before you leave your client's house, you've done the work, get paid. You can do that with like some quick QuickBooks payments. You can do it through Stripe. Any type of credit card payment processor will make this great. A lot of CRMs have this included too. If you're on a commercial set though, or really looking at very large projects, you might consider progress billing. So what that means is instead of getting your a $25,000 job, right? Instead of getting paid $25,000 at the end, you can set clear checkpoints along the way and say, well, when I get through 40% of the work as defined by this metric, I'm going to get $10,000. And then when I'm clear with 80% of the work, I get another 10. And then at the end of it, I get 5. And then when I'm done, I get the final 5. Okay. So you can work that out with your suppliers and with your general contractors to make all of that happen. And you can also work with your suppliers on the other side to negotiate better payment terms. They can extend payment terms or say, hey, it usually takes me 45 days to get paid. Here's the proof. They'll usually look at it and go, yeah, it's consistently coming in and we're willing to work with you on your terms. The other thing that really makes a difference is working with a pro, like a fractional CFO, to help you with cash flow forecasting. You can take a look at your income and expenses for the next 3 to 6 months. That way, you can see any shortfalls before they happen. And instead of having to react when they happen, now you've got a plan in place and you're ready. And you can take the steps to make it happen. And lastly, one thing I always recommend to my clients is establishing some type of cash flow reserve. Throughout, set aside, when you have really strong months, set aside some money. That's all you have to do. And even if it's $2,000 a month for, 4 or 5 months in your busy season, that's an extra $8,000 to $10,000 that you have to cover a payroll when things get really tight. Okay. So if you put all these action steps in place, you're going to make sure you confidently cover your expenses and unexpected costs when they come up without having to break a sweat. You'll also see that your business becomes more predictable because now you can actually plan when people are going to be paying you and actually be right about it, right? That's huge. And that's going to let you make smarter investments and better growth decisions. With these systems in place, you don't have to wait anymore on the late payments so you can fund your next job, which means you become a planner, not a panicker. Deal? And lastly, by keeping in touch with your suppliers, you've got great relationships with them. When you keep them abreast, they know, hey, it's going to be 10 days later than usual because of this weird job that came through. They're going to be really grateful for that. And your employees, they're going to love you because you paid them on time, right? But if you don't implement any of these, you're going to really struggle to pay your employees and subcontractors on time. When people don't get paid, they don't work, they quit, right? Late supplier payments, that means you may not be able to get your materials for the next job. And if you can't get your jobs, that's going to hurt your reputation in the community. And that is one of the biggest detriments to any small business. Financial unpredictability, it makes it hard to scale. You also don't know if the large jobs you're bidding on, if they're going to be profitable, or if you're even going to be able to secure financing to help you cover those gaps, right? So it's really important to make sure you balance and manage your cash flow accordingly, because there's a lot of things that can be affected. And then lastly, when you're too busy worried about money, it's hard to think about 2 weeks from now what the money's going to look like, because you're still worried about today. And when you're consistently freaking out over getting paid today, that means you can't run your business effectively. It means you can't grow, and that's a problem. Okay? So what I want you to do, take a look at your last 3 months of cash flow. And I want you to see, when did you have high receivables? When did you have high payables? And that can be found on your balance sheet, right? And that's just going to help you take a look at this and go, okay, usually in, December, January, February is when I fall short, right? And now you can know, well, I was short by this much in these 3 months. Here's my total savings goal for the year. That's just a simple example. But by implementing some of these systems, you can really turn it around and have your cash flow, have control over your cash flow instead of it having control over you. All right, friends, this is Dan with Black Belt Ledgers. I'm your fractional CFO for Contractors. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or visit blackbeltledgers.com. We'll talk soon.